Whenever someone posts a photo or a video of their turntable setup, there's one common criticism I keep seeing over and over again, and it involves when people have speakers on the same surface as their turntable. The reasoning is that the vibrations from the speakers will be picked up by the stylus of the turntable and will cause problems. Now, exactly what those problems are never really specified. It just said, don't do it, it'll cause problems, it's not good to do. Even the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, was ridiculed online for having speakers on the same surface as his turntable when a photo of his setup was shown in Architectural Digest. And of course, audiophiles also criticized him for having a setup that only cost around $1,000. They expected him to have something even more expensive than that. So I did a little bit of research, and I discovered the turntable manufacturer U-Turn. In their owner's manual, they say the vibrations from the speakers being on the same surface of the turntable negatively affects the turntable. And there's a website called Vinyl Me Please, in one of their setup guides for connecting speakers to turntables. They say the vibrations directly affect the stylus. They don't say how it affects the stylus, they just say it directly affects the stylus. Another website called the Vinyl Factory says the vibrations from the speakers being on the same surface as the turntable undermines the ability of the turntable to do its job. Well, that's very specific. So I decided to put this to the test myself. The first setup here is an Aiwa PXE 860 turntable from 1999, basically identical to the very popular Audio-Technica AT-LP60 turntable that is sold today. And I have a pair of Bose Companion 2 powered speakers. Rather small, but they can sure pump out a lot of bass for their small size. And the record I'll be playing is Jeremy Hyden's Blue Wicked. And I'll be having the speakers turned all the way up. You can hear a little bit of hum, but that's because I'm not using the original power supply to these speakers. I assume the original power supply would not have this hum. And you can see the speakers are maybe 1.5 inches away from the size of the turntable. So here we go. I'll play a little bit of some of the songs on this record. Was turned all the way up, and that song has a pretty heavy bass beat to it, and there's no problems that I can notice. Let's try another song.
You know better roses. I wear you like a ball and chain. Heart in my sweetheart, and revel in my pain. Blue wicked are your eyes.
No problems there. Try another song here. Again, no problems. But you're probably saying these speakers are too small. Of course they're not going to cause any problems. So let's try larger speakers. The setup will now involve this pair of RCA bookshelf speakers sold by Radio Shack. You can see they're rated at 8 ohms, 40 watts RMS, 80 watts maximum. I'm using this small Realistic SA155 integrated stereo amplifier. Same turntable, same record. To measure just how loud these speakers are getting, I pulled out my sound level meter and I looked up the OSHA standards for maximum safe loudness levels, for example, things like factory workers. And they say to use A weighting, and they say sound levels above 85 decibels can cause hearing damage when it's a prolonged exposure. And they say the maximum safe sound level is 90 dB. So that's why I have my meter set to. So that means when the meter shows 0, that's equivalent to 90 dB, and anything above that is above 90 dB. So that track was averaging right around 90 dB. Of course, I'm holding it up so you can see it in the camera. If I actually held it more directly towards the speakers, it would be reading even higher.
Blue, wicked are your eyes. True, wicked is your soul. Your secret's safe with me for you.
That one was actually going off the scale, so that was peaking above 96 dB.
I heard a song reminding me of long ago. Back then I thought things were never gonna change. It used to be that I never had to feel the pain.
And that one was also peaking the meter at up to 96 dB. But again, no problems that I can hear from the turntable with this kind of sound level, with speakers being on the same surface as the turntable.
While you were sleeping, I had a dream of the life I could be leading, of the place I have never.
So again, that was peaking around 94, 95 dB, and no problems I could hear from the turntable.
Live with your choice. You want to spend some time with me, or are you after my money? 'Cause when I go broke, that turns out to be a joke.
Yeah, I think that turns out to be a joke. All this fear-mongering about having speakers on the same surface as the turntable. Now, obviously, when the speaker vibrations get to an extreme level, it can be picked up by the turntable's stylus and cause feedback. And to prove that point, I have this 25 watt guitar amplifier. I'm going to set it down on the table. I'm going to put the turntable directly on top of it. And I'm going to play the record, and you'll see what happens when I turn it up. When I turn it up above a certain point, you can hear that feedback. So if you're stupid enough to put your turntable directly on top of a guitar amplifier with the speaker facing up into the turntable, obviously you can get this kind of feedback. But even putting the amplifier directly to the side of the turntable rather than directly underneath it gives it enough isolation that that feedback is no longer a problem. I could actually hear the plastic of the turntable rattling with the bass, but even at that extreme of a amount of bass coming out of that speaker, it was not causing that feedback into the stylus. So I think this myth has been officially busted. As long as you're not stupid enough to put your turntable directly on top of a large speaker that's facing directly upwards into the turntable, the vibrations from the speaker getting into the stylus and causing feedback is not going to be a problem.